this town council meeting to order this December 13th, 2022. Thank you very much for joining us this evening, ladies and gentlemen, on this beautiful evening in Blowing Rock. I don't know how you all found us. I almost didn't find Town Hall. If you would, roll call for attendance. Albert Yance.
Present.
David Harwood.
Here.
Melissa Pickett.
Here.
Doug Matheson.
Here.
And Mr. Guarini.
Here.
All right, if you would, let us please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty. Council approval of minutes. This would be November 9th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Oh. Albert? David?
Yes.
Melissa?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
And
Yes.
Mr. Greene. Okay. Approved. Now, motion to approve the regular agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Albert? David?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
And Pete?
Yes.
Okay, regular agenda is adopted. Consent agenda, budget amendment 2022-15, tax releases 2022-04 and 2022-05. Blowing Rock Brewing request to set an annexation date. Do I have a motion to approve consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Albert, how do you vote?
Aye.
Listen,
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
Pete?
Yes.
Okay, consent agenda is adopted. Let's see, I would like to, Mr. Todd Castle, thank you for joining us this evening. This is one of our new county commissioners. Thanks for coming, Todd. Appreciate your support. Oh, very good. Braxton will be making it as well. Yes. Excellent. Excellent. How did you find us tonight?
I drove by 3 times.
So did we. Yeah, okay. Thanks for coming. Public comments. Now, please keep in mind your public comments cannot be pertaining to anything under the public hearing section. Please keep your time down to 3 minutes. Now, I guess what, Rick Parsons.
I'm not sure what you dread more, winter coming or me coming back to talk about.
It's all right, I got my old phone here. The timer's still working good, Rick. Thanks for coming, Rick.
Thank you. Rick Parsons. I live at 1500 block of Green Hill Road. And I'm just back again to remind you that the problem that we've faced for the last 6 years that I've been coming here is still present. And that's the constant speeding on Green Hill Road from the Parkway to the first curve in the 1500 block. Now, in the last 6 years, we've had multiple studies, 3 at least that I can count. The most recently one conducted by Ramey Kemp, which all show and demonstrate a problem where in the last counts, more than 15% of the traffic was traveling in excess of 10 miles per hour over the posted speed limit, with recorded speeds of up to 64 miles an hour. Now, those were the same speed ranges that were recorded in the other times. And it doesn't happen all the time. It doesn't happen as bad in the winter, certainly not as bad in the summer, but it still happens. And I'm back just like I do every year to remind you that we haven't solved this problem. We have had many suggestions of solutions, but as of yet, there's been no action. And I'm here again to encourage the town council to take this problem seriously, take it seriously before there is someone killed on the street, and do something about the chronic problem that exists on the straight stretches of Green Hill Road. Thank you.
Rick, thank you, and I do greatly appreciate your consistency. For those like Rick that are concerned about speeding, that is something that will be, once again, discussed during our winter retreat. And, we're always going to have speeders, but anything we can do to decrease the speeding is definitely a must. So thanks again, Rick. Is there anyone else that would like to speak for the 3 minutes? Okay. All righty. Mr. Shane Fox, this is special recognition.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. This time of year, it's always a privilege to get to stand up here and present some of our employees with our annual service awards. So for those in the audience that may not be familiar, we do service awards on the 5th year, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, and et cetera years. We actually do these at our annual Christmas party. So we do a Christmas party. This year it was on the 2nd, which was 2 Fridays ago from this Friday. And we present these awards along with some other things during that Christmas party. Special time for us to be able to recognize our employees here. I've got a couple things up here. I like numbers and sharing things with you, so I wanted to share a few things that you may find interesting. So the town, and everybody here obviously knows, up here knows, we have 75 full-time employees. What a lot of folks don't know is our average tenure is almost 8 years here. And what you see up here, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, for 2022, the average tenure is 3.8 years. So when you take all of our 75 full-time employees, more than double what the average is across the state. And this is for local government. So a lot of folks know local government employees tend to stay longer than private. This is for local government. So these numbers up here are based on the local government numbers for the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So 8 years on average. From our Christmas party, we have several individuals that stood up over 30 years. We have one individual over 40 years that have worked here. So a testament to all the previous managers and councils, you're doing something right to keep employees this long. Also interesting, in the last year overall, we've lost one individual for turnover. So we've had one person out of our 75 full-time employees leave the town in the last 12 months. And that was actually in February of last year. So it's almost zero in the last 10 months, or is zero in the last 10 months. In 2022, that number is 24% for this statistical range, so local government, based on the Bureau of Labor Statistics, 20% in 2021. So that did increase in 2022. Again, a testament to you must be doing things right, and I think we're definitely doing things right. The individuals we have here tonight, again, couldn't speak more highly of them. I'll say a few words about some of them and some of their tenures here and some of their history. We do have a number of individuals that couldn't make it tonight because of illness and some other things. So I'll start with those individuals that couldn't make it tonight. Tasha Johnston in our finance department, she's celebrating her 5th year this year. So Tasha is who makes the payroll and our AP and our AR happen. So super important role with her. Thomas Gunnels in our police department, celebrating 5 years. Thomas couldn't be here tonight, has a sick little one. 3 in fire, Jason Roten, Colby Witt, and Alex Price, all celebrating 5 years this year. Nicole Norman, our finance director, unfortunately is under the weather, celebrating 15 years with the town. And Sharon Van Dyke, our police dispatcher, serving her 25th year for the town, couldn't be here tonight. 25th year for the town, but has been serving the county for well over 30 years. Started with the rescue squad, Tiger Rescue Squad, before coming to the town. So then I'll turn over to the individuals that are here tonight, starting with Hunter Shook with Public Works. If Hunter could come in here. Hunter started 5 years ago, and I've shared this with you all on the back of our trash truck, which is where most all of our Public Works folks start. Hunter's been with us 5 years. You'll find Hunter now in holes at 2 in the morning fixing water leaks, still getting on the back of the trash truck when needed, and doing anything that we ask him to do. So Hunter Shook celebrating 5 years with us this year. Next is Sterling Lewis. So Sterling is celebrating his 15th year with us this year. Sterling, like Hunter, started on the back of the trash truck 15 years ago and has worked his way up to being our heavy machine operator. Again, he's usually not in the hole as much as he's above the hole operating the machinery, and Hunter's beneath him within that. But Sterling Lewis celebrating 15 years with the town this year. And then James Townsend. James Townsend is celebrating his 15th year as well with the town. James is one of our 2 wastewater plant operators. And like a broken record, James also began 15 years ago on the back of the trash truck and has worked his way up to being at the wastewater plant. Not sure if it's appropriate to say worked your way up to the wastewater plant. You went from the trash truck to the wastewater plant. So not sure how those equal each other. But James, obviously, a tremendous asset to the town. James Townsend celebrating 15 years with the town. And then last tonight is Aaron Miller. So our chief, Aaron Miller, who I believe is in our conference room, will be coming in with us. Aaron celebrating his 15th year with the town, but actually began in 1989, is that right? With the town of Blowing Rock on the fire department, and has served the town in some capacity for 33 years, going on 34 years between the fire department and the police department. But Chief Aaron Miller celebrating his 15th year as a full-time employee with the town. So it's an honor for me to stand here tonight. I say thank you to you all. As I say during the Christmas party, it's a privilege to be able to manage each one of you. It's a testament, again, to some of these numbers up here and to you all for working with the town and giving what you do on a daily basis to the town and to the citizens here. So if you don't mind, I think the council customary would like to take a picture with you, if that's okay. And
I
we'll
do have
have
a
Ms.
question,
Hillary.
Shane.
Yes, sir.
Seeing that Aaron didn't come up properly through the ranks.
He didn't serve on the back of the trash truck. That is correct.
I'll circle back. That's a good point.
Miller was the chief of the rescue squad, too.
Okay.
That kind of counts as
I'll have to say, even before I was mayor, traveling through town, we'd see the town crews working at night, fixing water leaks. Anytime something needed to be done, they were doing it. Since I've been mayor, I've been amazed at how our town employees jump up to the plate. And so we have a great town because of our public works, all of our town employees, and our citizens. So thank you, guys. Thank you so much. All right, moving right along. Okay, this next is a public hearing. It's the SUP for Rumpel. Now, this is quasi-judicial, so if you would like to speak, I do need you to step over, see Hillary, get sworn in. You can go in as a group if there's more than one of you. If there's 2 of you, you can still go as a group. And if you would, get sworn in if you would like to speak, and then we'll move forward from there.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask the mayor and council that I be recused for this, as that Rumpel is one of my customers.
Yes, you may, Doug. Are you going to dinner, Doug?
I'll see y'all about tea.
All right, Mr. Rothrock, I'm going to leave it in your hands.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I want to present a special use permit to you on behalf of Rumpel Presbyterian Church for their Fellowship Hall addition. They're requesting this special use permit to add this, and the property is zoned Town Center and Office Institutional. The front part is zoned Town Center, the rear is Office Institutional. and is just partially located in the watershed and really the front part of the front of the property. This new fellowship hall, they will also repurpose some other areas of the existing church facilities, and new entryways are proposed and a relocated playground. I'll walk through the architectural plans and renderings in just a moment. You've probably noticed that the Rumpel House has been under construction and renovation, but that's not part of this application. That was all interior or some exterior stuff, but no additions in that. This property, if you notice from the site plan and the staff report, is actually 4 properties. And so one of the requirements in the special use permit is that they combine those 4 properties before they get a CO for the new addition. Let's go through. This is the existing property as it is with the sanctuary, the education building, the Keys Chapel, Rumpel House here, and what did y'all call this? The youth cottage. It's already been demolished. The playground was in this area. And then this is where the fellowship hall is going to be located. They're adding some walkways here in between the buildings, and then some new drainage to pick up drainage inside this and carry it around to the backside. And for this new addition, I think I explained it in the staff report, they'll be adding some stormwater detention in this lower parking area before it releases to Wallingford. As proposed, they are not proposing any new parking for this project. This will serve their existing congregation. The rationale, and there was an attachment in your report, that much of the existing parking at the church is used by the public during the week. And the public parking is widely available in downtown during Sunday church services, and so there's some sharing going on. And so that narrative explains that. And the planning board, as they reviewed the project, they recommended that the parking requirement for a church is you have 1 parking space for every 4 seats in the sanctuary, and then additional 1 space for every 200 square feet of the remainder of the building. And so the planning board, through their review, they recommended that additional section of 1 space per 200 square feet be eliminated from our parking standards. So if that's the feeling of council, I will draft an ordinance to amend that if that's your feeling on it. It's separate from this, but I wanted to point that out. The planning board in their review, that was their recommendation. I did mention stormwater management and how that'll be handled for the additional impervious areas being added. That'll be collected here and slow that water down before it leaves, is emptied into Wallingford in the storm drainage, not into the street. There's the one with the plan, the elevations. Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, I'll just walk through what they're planning to do. This is from the front yard of Rumpel. You see the construction on the Rumpel House. And this is looking at that same view with the new covered walkways being added. This is from the rear. Of course, as I mentioned, this is gone. And then this is the addition they're proposing with a new entryway into that fellowship hall, and then bringing this one out. Another view of it. And then showing the addition. And everything, the stone and the beams and everything ties into the existing structure as it is today. So but that's just a zoomed in shot right there. And then an overhead view showing the Rumpel House, and then the fellowship hall being added back here, and the playground being moved back into that corner over near the property line with Town Tavern. So everything is complementary in their design, what they've laid out in the design of the building. The planning board recommendation was to approve the special use permit with the condition that the parking be sufficient in what they currently have and in the arrangement that they have in other places, and having the public parking available on Sunday. provide a draft special use permit for your review, the plans that you've looked at here. So I'll be glad to answer questions. Members of their team are here to answer questions that maybe I can't, but that's it. Any questions of me?
Council?
Not this,
Okay. This public hearing is open, so
anything y'all want to add, or
would y'all like to add something?
you're sworn, might as well. Come on.
Yeah, since I'm sworn in, my name is John Calvin. I'm chairman of the building committee, and with us tonight is Kathy Beach, who most of you know is our pastor. Alan Kreese is our civil engineer. Scotty Smith is ADW Architects, and they are out of Charlotte, and they kind of concentrate on church issues and designs. And that's Billy Worsham, who some of you know, and he's an elder liaison. Don't want to take any amount of time, but this is a really exciting project for us. The good news is the financing, we did a capital campaign during the COVID, and we have the money to do the project. We're going to do it in phases so not to disrupt the operation of the church. As Kevin mentioned on the parking, it was kind of an anomaly that we ran into. We meet the parking space requirements for the pews, but if you add in the extra square foot of the church, we don't. But when you think about it, when they're in the church, they're not in the other parts of the area of the buildings. When they're in the other parts of the building, they're not in the sanctuary. And one last thing, our sanctuary is not being changed. That is going to remain as is. It was built in 1912, and we're going to keep it that way. This would just give us some more operating space. So be happy to answer any other questions if you have any.
Okay. Is there someone else that would like to speak on this project? Any questions, council? David?
Yeah, I would, Kevin, can you outline the conditions?
Sure. The ones in the special use permit?
Yes, sir.
Anything specific or?
Well, I guess, are we losing any parking that we currently have?
Might be one space where a dumpster area is proposed. If you're familiar, where everyone walks through,
Right.
parks during the week, walks through the town tavern.
Right.
And that area is a place that they would like, if they need a dumpster, that's where they're looking to.
So we're not losing any of the spaces behind Keys Chapel?
No, go, if you don't mind, go to the,
Yeah, the handicap spaces that are behind Keys Chapel are going to be relocated to the main parking area.
So is there a net difference?
We will lose one space, I believe,
One space?
due to the dumpster.
Okay. Where's the
which
dump-
is looking at trying to put it in right here,
Right
where
there.
the enclosure.
Okay. And so where's
Sorry.
the dumpster going?
Right there.
Okay. I mean,
Currently, they've got rollouts stuck in behind here. The education building between that and the hedge.
And mechanical units?
Mechanical units.
HVAC compressors?
Roof mounted?
They're roof mounted?
No, I was asking.
Tell me and I'll. That's right, there's a retaining wall right up there by the, right around that area there. Yeah. There's going to be a retaining wall around there.
In the addition, the kitchen requires a grease trap,
Yeah.
so that's where that is.
just. You know what we struggled with at the museum?
Yes.
Actually, you were the chair on both sides of that street for both projects.
One other thing, just a comment too, I would just like to bring it up, that right now, everybody that parks during the week walks through the, between the sanctuary and the Rumpel House. And we thought, well, the building's gonna go right up against Rumpel House, the Keys Chapel. So we added a new sidewalk for people to still access Main Street, even though you didn't ask that question.
I think it's a really attractive design, Mr. Smith. And too bad you couldn't use an architect up here. Just not, didn't have the qualification.
Maybe didn't have time.
Then we just wouldn't have had anybody to vote.
Yeah.
Pete, any thoughts? Better no. Any thoughts, Pete? You good? Good. Albert? Any thoughts? Any thoughts? I'm good. And Melissa? Okay, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a Second? Any additional discussion? Okay, how do you all feel about this? Albert? David?
I don't have any comments.
No. How do you vote?
Was there a motion?
I didn't hear
Yes.
one.
No, there was a motion to close the
Close this
hearing.
hearing.
Sorry about that. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Okay. Do we have a second? And your motion is to approve? Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Albert? David?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
And Pete?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. Thanks. Thanks for everything you're doing. Thank you so much. Great
luck.
job.
Good luck.
All right. Doug, you finished dinner? There he is.
It's on the way.
You all have a good evening. Be safe out there.
Check that new sidewalk out. As far as that.
All right. Now, these next two items, the USD application to apply is a public hearing, but you don't have to, it's not quasi judicial. So I will let Mr. Doug Chapman lead this off.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. We've talked about making some improvement, a number of improvements to the town's water and sewer systems. I want to go ahead and start. We've talked about work at the water treatment plant. We've done upgrades in the past. We did electrical upgrades. We did some backwash water upgrades. We upgraded a filter. We've done a lot of different things at the wastewater plant with aeration and sludge and fixing basins and that leaks and that kind of thing. In 2014, we did bonds with projects that replaced water lines, sewer lines. That included Sunset. The next big project identified was the Main Street water and sewer lines replacement. We were fortunate that the town received state funding for that project. So that's a real immediate need, but that project is moving forward. We've talked about that before. But the real issue that remains that we had talked about doing with the Main Street project were improvements at the water plant, improvements at the wastewater plant. So we looked at, we talked about what are the funding opportunities. Well, in the past, we've gotten clean water and drinking water SRF funds for both of those plants in the past. We've looked at what kind of ARPA funds are available through different resources, and we looked at USDA for loans. This town isn't eligible for grants through USDA, but would be eligible for loans. And we did this actually probably a year and a half ago, well, maybe a little more now, when we talked about USDA and payback and a loan and what that would do for us. So in looking at the identified problems that still remain that might be eligible for funding and looking specifically at USDA, we've looked at adding the Mayview lift station to that project, to that process. And we're going to replace the pump station pretty much completely in the general footprint of where it's at, not in the same spot, but nearby. So there'll still be a pump station there. It'll look a little different when we get done with it. Better, I will say. And then we'll replace the section of force main from there up to Wallingford and Pine Street. Some of that will be done, we'll discuss it as the next item on the agenda. But we would submit this as part of a package. So we packaged this, Mayview lift station, along with improvements at the water plant. That includes, as we've looked through the whole plant, we're replacing the flocculator equipment, we're replacing the high service pump and valve, we're replacing a finished water pump, and there's two of each of those. The other ones have been rebuilt. So in an effort to try to save some money, we're taking the ones that are recently redone and keeping those and replacing the older ones. We're going to replace and relocate the turbidimeters so they can be easier to access, a little more operator friendly. There's a lot of valves, piping, bolts, et cetera, that are very rusty that need to be repaired. Some of the bolts will be replaced. All of it will be cleaned up and painted. We've talked about that project for, I guess, 17 years now. You know, we've taken the most critical pieces first. There are a few electrical things that we're going to do, and we're going to add SCADA, a portion of SCADA to the facility so it can be monitored remotely when there are problems. At the wastewater treatment plant, there's a similar list of issues. The bar screen that's been in for a while now needs to be replaced. We're going to put a new aeration system in the digester, going with diffused air instead of the floating digesters. We're going to do some improvements, excuse me, to the influent pump station. Those pumps I don't think have been replaced. They've been maintained over the years, but I think they're original to the 88 construction, 85, okay. The operations building roof will be repaired, and electrical improvements associated with all of those, and some SCADA installation at the wastewater plant as well. So those are the things that have been identified to go into a project that we would submit a USDA funding application for. So we've prepared an engineering report. We had to prepare some environmental information to get a categorical exclusion approved. All of that's been done. The next step is submitting everything to the funding application online. So after tonight, after the approval to apply for the funding, we'll finish the application. Once that's considered by USDA, they'll come back and make a funding award announcement to the town. That gets accepted. Then we will begin the design work, all the permitting, bid the project, and do construction. So that's sort of the process of the next steps to happen.
Questions?
Doug, what do you think the time frame for all of that is?
The variable is probably the USDA piece of it. I would hope that we would hear back from them probably in the spring. They don't have a set schedule like some of the funding programs. It's more of it rolls all the time. So I suspect that it will probably be mid-late spring before we hear back. And then this project's probably got about 6 months worth of design and permitting. And then there's a bidding process, and USDA is involved in all of that. So all of that takes a little bit longer. I would expect it will probably be about the end of 23 or the beginning of 24 when we would go to bids, something like that.
I know it's probably a little off the wall. You got any idea about, as much as this as you've done, what kind of price we might be looking at?
You know, that's a question I should have been prepared for. Yes, I do. I just don't know it off the top of my head. I believe that final amount is 4.6 million.
If I may, so we have estimated the lift station at about $1.4 million with everything included in it. And then the plants were right at 3 million, I think, give or take. 3.2 is what we're estimating without knowing full cost within that. So about 4.5 or 4.6 million is
Yeah.
right within that number.
Oh, you had a question?
Go ahead.
Will there be a public mourning period for the old pump station?
I hope not. More of a celebration.
I think they're gonna move it over to your house.
Now, I will say there is no plan to include restrooms in that pump, in the new pump station, in case anybody wanted to know.
And it's been a bad actor a long time.
Can we elaborate on obtaining the interim financing?
So what happens with a USDA funded project is they agree to funding, but they don't give you the money until the end of until everything's closed out. They don't technically give you the money. So you will go to a bank, you'll advertise for interim financing, and you'll get, it's basically like a construction loan where you pay the interest. I don't know if you pay the interest all along the way.
You do.
Okay. All along the way during the project, and then when you finish and they approve everything, you end up converting to some type of permanent, sometimes with the same institution, sometimes not.
If I may elaborate a little bit further, we began this conversation without the knowledge of our General Assembly allocation within that. So if you kind of recall, about 2 years ago, we started the conversation with the updates that were needed, Main Street water, Main Street sewer, and then our plant upgrades. And we had talked about phasing in our plant upgrades along with the lift station. Last year at the retreat, having knowledge of the fact that we were able to move forward with our Main Street project, we then pushed this to our USDA loan application side, which allows us to extend out the terms of this for 40 years. And so this is what we're applying for is a 40-year loan, which allows us to extend out and essentially smooth out that debt service. Our current rates that we put in, increases in the water and sewer this past year, was put into place because of this loan. So not to say that we won't have additional increases going forward, but the increases that we put in were absolutely with this particular loan and this amount in mind. So that doesn't necessarily say that you have to move forward with it, but we have put rates in place to offset the debt service in order to be able to account for the $4.6 million number over the 40-year term. So that was part of the consideration that we talked about last year during the retreat when we talked about our debt capacity within that, kind of what our appetite was. So we have put in place the rates that are needed if we were to go forward with this and move forward with this process within that. Some of the unknowns we didn't know about is the timing of some of the permitting and things of that nature that have taken a little bit longer. Towards the end of tonight, I'll give you updates on the other bids, and they're all set to go to bid in the next 7 to 10 days. So this one, not going to bid until maybe later this year. Our urgency that we talked about earlier was with that sewer line, especially with the leaks that are happening with that. So that topic's coming up in a little bit. Don't want you to think that delaying this is going to be critical. I think we've got some things that we can do in the interim that, like the sewer line and some other stuff that we may need to do a little bit sooner than that. But the overall project, it taking a little bit longer and allowing us to go through this process and allowing us to go through USDA and that 40-year term does allow us to smooth over that debt service a little bit better without having to raise rates necessarily anymore to do that.
Well, is the sewer line included in this thing?
It was originally included. It will be excluded as long as it's approved later tonight.
Right, but I mean, we're still looking at recouping it through this.
It would not be recouped. We would not apply for the sewer line portion of that as a part of that. And I'll talk about that in just a little bit about how we plan on paying for that. It's actually going to be out of leftover bond money from 2014 sewer money within that.
I'll wait till we get to there to add my second part of that question.
Okay.
Ladies, gentlemen, this public hearing is open. If you would like to speak on this particular issue, there's Ms. Hillary over here. Okay. I have a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move that we approve the application moving forward.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Albert? David?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
And Pete. Okay. Moving right along, before we go to the change of use table, I would like to welcome Braxton Eggers, another county commissioner that just came on board. Congratulations. And once again, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us and taking this time out of your busy schedules. This is change of use table. Kevin Rothrock.
Thank you, Mayor. I believe it was last month, I was back before you with this initial request. And so I give you an update and discuss the draft ordinance. So single family with accessory apartment uses, they're allowed in all residential zoning districts except R15 and RMH, RMH being the mobile home zoning district. They're allowed with the approval of a zoning permit in the residential districts, and they're also allowed in the non-residential zoning districts, but with a special use permit. Duplex and other two-family uses are allowed in the multifamily residential zoning districts and the non-residential zoning districts with a special use permit. One and two family construction in North Carolina is exempt from regulation by local jurisdiction architectural design standards. However, duplex construction is still subject to other provisions of the land use ordinance, including landscaping, watershed, stormwater detention, and several others that are listed in the land use code. In November, council asked the planning board to evaluate the use table and determine if it's appropriate to require only a zoning permit for these type uses. So in November, the planning board reviewed this and we discussed the implications. And at that time recommended that single family with accessory apartments and duplex and two family uses be permitted through a zoning permit in the zoning districts where they're currently permitted through special use. I included some definitions of the different various uses: duplex, residential multifamily, single family with accessory apartment, two family residences, townhouse, and two family conversions. Also attached is a draft ordinance that was highlighted that would show those areas of the use table that would change if you decide to approve this, where the special use would be dropped from these type of uses and just be amended to a zoning permit. These uses are not being introduced into any new zoning districts. They're still in the zoning districts that they're currently allowed with special use. But zoning permit is the recommendation from planning board. In the draft ordinance, there are two specific comprehensive plan policies that are addressed. Policy LC 34 and LC 35. The first one says that it encourages the expansion of housing choices through allowing accessory apartments and associated single-family dwellings in appropriate zoning districts. Again, we didn't expand that into any new districts, but in the non-residential town center and general business, allow those uses to be approved by zoning permit. And then LC 35 of the comprehensive plan allows multifamily use by right in additional base zoning districts. No, we didn't do that either, but it encourages greater housing diversity and it lowers the barrier to entering the housing market by making the process easier and simpler for those that are wanting to add those type of uses to their property. So I'll be glad to answer questions, and this comes on a recommendation from the planning board.
Council? Okay, the public hearing is open. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on this change? Okay. Do I have a motion to close this public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Albert?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Doug? Aye. And Pete? Aye. Okay, do I have a motion to approve or disapprove?
Make a motion that we, adopt this change of use table, or Mr. Rothrock.
Do we have- We have a second. Any discussion?
I have a question. Kevin, how often what's the frequency of the requests we have?
It's not very frequent. But in the last couple of years, we've had a few more make this request on a particular piece of property in general business. And so my explanation, well, if you want to do this type of use, you have to go through the special use process. It has come up more in the last 3 or 4 years, but still not that common. Because those properties are already developed. A lot of these properties, this would be an option. There are some that they already have a single-family home on it, and they want to add the accessory apartment in maybe downtown. And so the process is special use. And, but to answer your question, not that often.
But not in general business or central business?
Well, when I say town center, central business and general business too, out on 321.
All right, we have a motion, we have a second. Albert? Dave?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Doug? Aye. And Pete?
Aye.
Okay. So thank you. This table passes.
Thanks to the planning board for
Yeah.
their work on that.
Tom's here.
All right, regular agenda, disposal of town assets. Unfortunately, Mr. Norman's under the weather, so we're going to defer to Shane Fox.
Pinch hitting tonight for our finance director, Ms. Norman. Thank you, council and mayor, to allow me to speak tonight towards surplus equipment. It's an exciting topic. I'll read a few things here that are required to read to you pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 168 270C. Town council is authorized to sell personal property by electronic auction upon adoption of a resolution authorizing an appropriate town official, myself, dispose of personal property belonging to the town by public auction. Resolution 2022-01, which I'll show you in just a few moments, authorizes the town manager or his designee to sell the property via electronic auction on govdeals.com. Items to be sold include a 1997 Chevrolet C8500 Leaf/dump truck and a 2006 Freightliner Class M2 garbage truck. These vehicles have been removed from service and can no longer be used by the town, and therefore we would like to sell them via GovDeals auction. GovDeals will be compensated 7.5% of the total gross sales price for the sale of the auction proceeds. The town signed a contract with GovDeals on July the 10th, 2007 for disposal of surplus items utilizing electronic auction method. And so you'll see here behind me a copy of the resolution. Also want to point out, so you allowed by resolution in 2017, resolution 2017-03, to allow the town manager to authorize sale of equipment under $30,000. The reason we're here tonight is because we believe in today's market, neither of these trucks are operational, but the parts themselves very well could exceed $30,000. Therefore, we thought we'd play it safe before we received any potential bid that would exceed $30,000. We'll go ahead and come before you tonight and receive permission to move forward with this. We're in hopes that we'll receive as much as obviously we can. But just out of a sense of caution, we're here tonight to hopefully receive approval on this resolution to move forward with listing these on GovDeals. Mr. Blackburn is here. These vehicles are both have both operated under Public Works, and if you've got any questions towards the history of these vehicles, I'm sure Mr. Blackburn will be more than happy to answer that, or I'll be happy to answer any questions towards the process.
I had one question, just to clarify, the commission earned by GovDeals is paid by the seller or the buyer?
It's By the buyer. So whatever the net or whatever the gross is, 7.5% of that. So technically, we, as the seller, I guess you would say, is paying for that. The buyer's paying for, so the seller, I misspoke. So the seller's paying for that.
All right, so the town's paying that.
The town's paying that.
Okay.
Out of the proceeds. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I misspoke. I apologize. Anything you'd like to add, Mr. Blackburn, towards this? These vehicles have been out of service for a number of years. Is that correct? They have, correct.
Is that the garbage truck that Aaron was going to train on? We have a motion.
So moved.
We have a second. Second. Any further discussion?
I would think the residual value of a used garbage truck would be extensively high.
Think so? Albert, how do you vote? David?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Doug? Aye. And Pete? Aye. Okay, great. All right, moving right along. Laurel Drive sewer line replacement. Back to Mr. Fox.
Again, thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me to speak tonight. I'll ask Mr. Blackburn and Mr. Chapman if they would to come into the room in case you have any technical questions with this particular project. We mentioned a few moments ago about our lift station in Mayview. Mr. Yount mentioned that we hope to have some type of a celebration or morning of the lift station. Unfortunately, our sewer line that extends from Pine Street down Wallingford and Laurel Drive into this lift station has had a number of issues over the years. So if you will allow me, I'll read the staff report. Town of Blowing Rock currently owns and maintains a 6-inch pressure sewer line that extends from Pine Street to the Mayview lift station along Laurel Drive. The sewer line, unfortunately, has fallen into a state of disrepair with over 8 occurrences of failures just in the past several years. Replacement of the line has been included in the upcoming Mayview lift station project, or the USDA project that you just heard Mr. Chapman talk about a few moments ago. After the most recent failure was determined, the timeline for replacement of the line was immediate. The USDA proceeds will more than likely, process will more than likely take upwards of a year, which you just heard that timeline from Mr. Chapman. Staff has worked with McGill and has obtained a quote from Iron Mountain Construction to replace the line for $58,070. The repair will take place hopefully within the next month, I believe, and would not have any negative impacts on the overall lift station project. The monies for the replacement would be sourced from unspent sewer monies related to the 2000 bond issuance and the upgrading of sewer lines along, related to the upgrade of sewer lines along 321 that resulted in a favorable budget outcome. The monies would be spent from fund balance to cover the cost of this project. The request is to allow town staff to move forward with the replacement of approximately 500 feet of pressure sewer line that extends from Pine Street to approximately close to the Mayview lift station and utilize existing authorized but unspent bond money that occurred due to a favorable budget outcome for funding. I do have a map here that may be a little difficult to see the details, but the purple line. So this particular area along Pine Street was replaced 3 years ago. Is that right? 3 years ago. So we're really talking about from the corner here down to Laurel Drive, which is a gravel road. Here's Rumpel. Here's the parsonage. From this corner down, 90-degree turn, Laurel Drive. And I think we're talking about ending it somewhere in the middle of the woods right now. Is that correct, Matt? So about 500 feet. The full length of what we're planning on replacing from here to the lift station is about 700 feet. So the 500 feet that we're talking about is the most critical piece within that. The last 200 feet is kind of the tie-in portion, fair to say, within that. So what we're asking tonight is permission to move forward with just that 500-foot section that we've had continuous issues with. I think everyone would agree a number of occurrences just over the past few years that have had unfortunate results of some of the spillage. This is the quote we obtained from Iron Mountain Construction, $58,070, kind of a detailed line item approach here. And then we did include, if you do allow for us to move forward with this, the approval of the budget amendment to move some of those unspent bond monies. So as part of the upcoming year, we do have phase 4 of the bonds that were issued or allowed or authorized in 2014 to move forward with. Part of that reconciliation process, Ms. Norman has worked through, did find that we did have some unspent bond money related to sewer, specifically along the 321 expansion and upgrade within that. So what we're proposing is to move those unspent bond monies that are left over because of the favorable outcome within the 321 sewer project over to this project and allow us to go ahead and move forward with that. From a technical standpoint, I think Mr. Chapman or Mr. Blackburn would be more than happy to jump in and answer questions within that, but I'll be also happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Is all of this underground?
Or,
Is all of this underground?
yes, sir.
I've got probably a two-part question. One, the 200, rest of it you're gonna do when we replace the lift station?
Correct, yes, sir.
And while we've got the road dug up down through there, why don't we replace that old 2-inch galvanized water line that goes down through there?
We talked about that, as a possibility. We're not 100% sure. We don't think that line loops all the way around. We think there's one that comes down Wilmot, one that goes down Laurel Drive, so we're trying to figure out, I'm gonna have Sam come out and look at it, try to get some pricing on making that loop, helping water quality through there, just kind of see what our options are with that. With that being a gravel road, it'll be a little bit easier to go back if we need to later to do that, since we're not tearing asphalt back up. Sam will come back in to repair that road, probably put it in a better state than it is now. Sewer, but with it being gravel, you know.
I just know it would have so many leaks on it all the time. I mean,
Yeah, and the majority of the leaks.
Miss Horner just,
Yeah, the majority of the leaks we've had on that road have been the sewer line.
Yeah.
I went back with Mark, I think we've had 2 water leaks on it compared to 10 of those force main breaks. So I think a lot of them get called in as water leaks originally, but when we get down to it, it's actually the force main that's in there leaking. But yeah, the water line is something we've talked about, and hopefully we can address.
And without
And we have to
selling-
report a leak, a sewer leak, when it exceeds what quantity?
1,000 gallons or if it reaches surface waters.
Okay.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this is, tends to be both in that particular area within that. So without giving away too much of some of the thunder at the retreat, we also have been able to find, so to speak, some extra water monies that we had not spent during the first and second and third phase of the bond issuance as well. And so part of the discussion that we're having internally as a staff right now would be the prioritization of those unspent bond monies. And the 2-inch lines, the galvanized lines that we have within the town definitely have come up recently as needing to be replaced. This particular area, and we did look at this, is not a loop, so it's essentially the 2-inch runs here from the corner. We have made a tap recently to the, I'm saying parsonage, I don't think that's the correct terminology. The Mansons within that. So we have tapped this into the line at Wallingford, but the 2-inch line does run from Wallingford. Matt, I think to about right here and stops, and there's a gap here, and then it picks up here and comes back and it ties in. If we were to do that, then obviously we would plan on looping that back around. I'm not sure the purpose of why it wasn't looped, during those days within that, but we do plan on bringing to council during the retreat some thoughts on how to maybe move forward with spending some of that unspent bond money from 2014, 17, and 19. And this very well may be one of those projects that we bring along with a couple other options within that. We unfortunately didn't think through that or didn't have some of those numbers when we started this process with Iron Mountain and moving forward with that. It kind of felt like there was an urgent need right now to go ahead and move forward with the replacement of this line, and then talk during the retreat about potentially doing that 2-inch line as well, if that's satisfactory to council during that conversation.
anytime we can reduce Matt and the guys that been out at midnight, it's nice, isn't it, Matt?
Council? We have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the proposal for the Laurel Drive sewer line replacement.
Second.
First, we have a second. Any further discussion? Albert? David?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Doug?
Aye.
And Pete?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving right along here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, just a few comments from me. I would like to thank the Walker family. Thank you, Walker family. They purchased turkeys for every town employee, is that correct? Now, the problem was Shane couldn't pick them all up in his car. But We thank you so much. Council thanks you. Our town employees really appreciated it. Secondly, Walker family also led the way and donated shields to our police department. And how many shields were there?
If I may ask you.
Aaron?
Yeah, two ballistic shields.
Mhm.
These are bulletproof shields. Brandon approached us, as he has a couple years, and offered to help support the project. One of the projects that we were thinking through how we were going to finance was the placement of a ballistic shield at Little Rock Elementary. So Brandon was on board with that project, and we appreciate that very much. So we're going to be purchasing two ballistic shields. One of those will be permanently housed at Little Rock Elementary for quick access. So
Very
appreciate
good.
that very much.
Brandon, thank you. Will one of these fit on Aaron's new garbage truck?
Mayor's department, get me on track.
Gentlemen, in case you missed it, so many of our town employees, since you're new in politics in the county, have come from our sanitation department and worked their way up to public works, to police, to fire. It says a lot, but Aaron's going the other way. But Walker family, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to say congratulations to Braxton Eggers, Todd Castle, L.D. Hageman, and Larry Turnbow on their the elections that took place. I greatly appreciate the time that you're going to take and you're taking. It says a lot. I'd love to see people donating to the community with no financial backing. You know, you probably make the same we do. It's great. We love it, don't we, guys? I want to say, but thank you. I want to say, and Ray Pickett.
What about condolences for me? Just
Oh,
kidding.
Ray's calling me. I want to say Merry Christmas to all of our citizens. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to all of our town employees, to the council. Done a great job. And I hope everybody's holidays are safe. If you travel, be careful. I hope everybody stays in good health. Albert next to me over here, I think he's got rabies. But Albert, go ahead.
Well, Hickory ruined Aaron.
Maybe true.
In this time and place of COVID, never underestimate laryngitis because it will get you. And no, I didn't have rabies. I had a shot for that when I was about 4 years old.
Yeah, I have two things. First, I really enjoyed myself at the Town of Blowing Rock employee Christmas dinner. I want to thank everybody on town staff that was involved in planning that and executing that. It was very memorable, and it really showed what the family that the Town of Blowing Rock is. So thank you for including me in that, and I really appreciate my new swag. So the second thing is I want to thank Chief Miller for jumping off a building, literally, in Raleigh. If you don't know it, my oldest daughter, works for Special Olympics North Carolina. And had she been aware that you were going to be in Raleigh, she would have been in attendance at that event. She covers the school systems, basically all the school systems from Greensboro to the Tennessee border. And but if you don't know, Chief Miller participated in a fundraiser for Special Olympics in honor of a very special friend of his. And you had to rappel from what floor? Help me.
The tallest building in Raleigh is 300 feet. I think it's 30 stories. It was lots of fun for a good cause.
Yeah, so thank you for doing that. Especially was meaningful for the Harwood family.
Listen.
I would also say that I highly enjoyed our town Christmas party. It's, hanging out with the staff is amazing. It proves to me the town that we live in. Seeing our staff together as a family, and just, I'm so proud of our staff and the hard work that they put in. It's great to see them all together and enjoying themselves for a change, and not in a hole on 2 a.m. on a Friday night. It's nice to see everybody relaxed and having a good time. So, and I hope they have the best of holidays with no issues, Matt. Fingers crossed for you.
Yeah.
If not, you can call me. I'll come bring you coffee. You probably don't want me running equipment, but I'll bring coffee.
Doug?
I'll start off with the good and go to the bad, or either way. The good is the Christmas party was great. My wife said it was the best one we've had yet. So thoroughly enjoyed that. Thank the staff. I always thank the employees for everything they do. I think Mr. Braxton and Mr. Castle out there, they're now going to find out what a real job is. How many hours that you can spend in this. So good luck, gentlemen, and thanks so much for coming over here to Blowing Rock. It meant a lot to this council to see y'all out in the audience tonight. Thank you for having us. So, a little bit of the bad news. I just got done with risk management meeting in Raleigh, and it doesn't look good for the insurance this year. So one of the things is you can't let Aaron be on the garbage truck. So I can already tell you that's a no-no. That's not going to work. But it looks like with discussions that we've went through that it's going to be a double-digit increase on insurance this year. A lot of it has to do with Hurricane Ian is probably going to go down as one of the most costliest catastrophes that we've ever had. In one day, it cost more than what Lloyd's of London could really handle. They had to dip into their reserves. That, and they say some of the more outrageous jury awards that we're seeing anymore has really driven the price of insurance up. And so that was the bad news of it, but I do wish everybody a Merry Christmas on top of that.
Hey.
Thank you. I have a couple things. First of all, Todd and Braxton, congratulations. I know you know, because you've been briefed about the ambulance situation, and we've been kicking this can down the road for some time, and it's really time to get some resolution on this. So we'd appreciate any help you guys can bring to that, because it's not a good situation. So we'd appreciate anything you can do to help that. And if you need any information, Mr. Fox is a encyclopedia of everything that's been going on. So secondly, we had our TDA retreat and went through a lot of stuff, 5 hours, and I'll just highlight a couple things. And I'd like to acknowledge, because a couple meetings ago I acknowledged the ABC contribution, and I think we need to acknowledge TDA's contribution too. So that's one thing. Tracy did mention, the scheduling issue, which we've talked about, and we've agreed to put that on the retreat so we can get some continuity and clarity on that to kind of clean that up. We made some approvals on the wayfinding. We approved $78,000 to move forward with that project. Detention by Design, I think, is going to be the lead company that's going to do that. Those are the people that have done it down in Boone, and I think Boone looks really good with that. So that's moving forward. We also approved an RFQ for the branding discussion, And that will, I guess we can talk about that at the retreat too. And so I think that was about it. Anyway, it was a good meeting. We got a lot done. And thanks to Shane and Nicole for all their input.
Mr. Mosley?
Nothing for me.
Can't report on the Christmas party because I didn't go. Sounds like it was fun.
Just a lot of fun, Alan, yeah.
Now, that was your fault.
I do have a few updates tonight, so bear with me. I'll start back what feels like a while ago with our lighting of the town and the parade that took place the week of Thanksgiving, the Friday and the Saturday. Thank you to all departments and staff that helped out. The lighting of the town, of course, Park and Recreation staff always does a tremendous job. Without a head count, I would venture to guess this was the best or largest one that we've had. You know, we'll say a couple thousand folks in attendance for that. The parade on Saturday, the weather could not have been better. Thank you to all town staff, truly, that pitched in during that process. This year, we did things differently. So, of course, last year was the first year of not having cars on Main Street. So that was continued on this year. This year was really the first year that we put full effort into blocking all intersections with large vehicles, dump trucks, fire trucks, things of that nature. So that took tremendous amount of staff to be on hand to be able to move those and attend to those. All police staff, including our reserves, were on that morning as well. Thank you to ASU and the town of Boone for participating and assisting us with some of the police protection that was in attendance that day. Again, thank you to everyone that participated with the parade and the lighting of the town. I don't think it could have gone off any smoother than what it was. Christmas party, again, thank you to the staff, most notably, Park and Recreation, again, did a tremendous job. Those 2 weeks were busy weeks for them, putting together all of these activities for the town and for the tourists. And then concluding with our town Christmas party, which I thought was fantastic. And thank you to the council for coming and participating in that. Public Works, we call it water leak season. I think that's a fair call. So we've had 3 water leaks since our last meeting. They always happen on a weekend and they always happen at night, if you've noticed within that. So we had one on 11/19, another on 11/29, and then one last Friday in Chitola. So our peak hours there seem to be around 6 or 7, 8 o'clock in the evening until about 2 in the morning. Thank you to Public Works staff for always jumping in and taking care of the needs of the town. I've worked in many places, and I've shared this before, where that's not always the case. So on a Saturday night, like November the 19th, when the call comes in, I think at 6 o'clock, that we have a water leak on Main Street, that same repair was done by 10 o'clock that night on a Saturday. So thank you to Public Works staff. And thank you to the fire department. On November the 20th, we had a pretty extensive fire in the Blackberry area that's outside of town, but that does include all of our fire personnel that worked a full day to be able to attend to that fire. And I appreciate the fire staff within that. Projects, a couple updates on some projects. Laurel Lane is complete. So that was a FEMA funded project that's now complete. So we'll leave it at that. Luckily, it was fully funded by FEMA, and I think the outcome is good. Just took a little while to get there. So we're appreciative of the staff and all the work that went into that. We talked earlier about some of the bids that are coming up. We'll say in the next 10 days, to be fair, maybe less than that. We'll have a number of bids going out, the largest being our Main Street project. That does have a water line bid, a sewer line bid, a underground utility line bid, and a sidewalk line bid within that. So that will go out within the next 7 days. I think that's fair to say. And those bids are going to be back prior to the retreat, and we'll open those, and then we'll utilize the retreat to have those conversations about what those bid outcomes look like. Our part of bid, again, similar time frame, so we're looking to have those bids back. That's our Park and Recreation grant fund that we received for Memorial Park upgrades. It includes expansion of the bathrooms, retrofitting the current bathrooms, upgrading the bathrooms, additional sidewalks, ADA accessibility, walkways into the park, new pickleball courts, refurbishing the tennis courts, along with some additional lighting, seating, additional picnic area for the playground, and then one additional feature to the playground. Again, for and I didn't mention this on the Main Street project, the $4.8 million from the General Assembly. Thank you again to Ray, Indiana, for assisting us within that. The Partif project is a combination funded, we hope, fingers crossed, between a $500,000 Partif grant that we received this past year, our 2014 bond issuance, which has about $450,000 left that we'll issue this spring, along with contributions from the TDA, as Mr. Rini said, and the ABC that was mentioned within that. So hopefully that project, as our fingers are crossed, will be funded using those mechanisms and not require any additional funding to move forward with that. But again, we'll utilize the retreat to walk through the results of those bids and discussion. Last project that we are planning to bid out in the next 7 to 10 days would be our AMI water meter project. Again, that will go out and we're hoping to have bids back prior to the retreat, and we can discuss options that we will have moving forward with potentially replacing our current manual red system with AMI technology, which will allow much improved and much needed customer service benefits, along with allowing us to fully understand our water system a little bit better, lost water, et cetera, within that. We do have some funding options for you to present. We talked a little bit about this last year, including potential bond money, and then some unspent monies as well that we're going to discuss within that. So the retreat is going to be fun and exciting times to talk about all these projects and all the details. For everyone, just a reminder, the retreat is scheduled for January 30th, 31st, and February the 1st, 3 days, bless you, at the American Legion. A couple other dates I'll bring up as I finish up our January Town Council meeting. We are planning on discussing paid parking, not asking for decisions to be made. We are hoping to leave you with questions during that time frame that will be answered a little bit more in depth during the retreat as well. So you can start putting together a picture of the agenda of the retreat as I go through some of this stuff. Our town hall is closed for Christmas on Friday the 23rd, Monday the 26th, and Tuesday the 27th. Just one reminder, as we're getting into snow removal season as well, we do have our signs posted on Main Street and Sunset that reminds individuals not to park along those two streets between 1 a.m. and 9 a.m. when we have snows excessive of 2 inches because of snow removal within that. So we put those signs up now a few weeks ago. Anticipation of snow, so far we haven't had any, so maybe that's good luck that it's not there. Be more than happy to answer any questions. Other than that, just wishing the staff and everyone, obviously, a Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we will be going into closed session, but I thought we'd take about a 10-minute break and say hello to Braxton and Todd and tell the Walker family once again thank you. So we're going to take a 10-minute break. We will be going into closed session afterwards, and there possibly will be a decision made after we come out of closed session.